I want to welcome the viewers of our seventh video. We're talking in detail about leadership, how to develop leaders. Remember the first video? In it I showed you the income opportunities in Vivasan. We start with the hobby stage and then go all the way up to the top, up to the level of your own company, when there is a large structure that makes money on its own. And many have realized that to move from one stage to another, you need to change your mindset in a certain way. And this requires taking slightly different actions than before. And at the end of the fourth video, when we were talking about skills, I explained to you that if you have these skills, if you apply them in practice and bring them to perfection, then you go to the pro stage. If you want to rise above the pro level and move to the expert level, then you must establish a system in your structure. And many people are doing exactly the right thing, doing it from the very beginning, because they understand that it is important from the very beginning. This allows them to climb faster and higher. Then we talked about the business group and why it is so important. We have discussed what duplication is. After that, we talked about skills, how to invite people to seminars, why they should be held, how to conduct seminars, training sessions, and other events, how to organize them. And now we are coming to the next important topic: how to go to even higher, how to become an expert, how to become an entrepreneur. Will the knowledge you have now be sufficient? Will you reach this level automatically? Or do you need to know something else? Of course, you need to know something else. And you need to learn how to develop new leaders. Develop yourself and develop new leaders in your structures. This brings us to a point that turns out to be critical for many. I always say that I am telling you the truth about my experience. This series of videos is intended for those who want to see the real picture and know what to expect. But a beginner, of course, should also take a look. Maybe he won't understand everything right away, but he must know that this is in store for him and that every problem has a solution. That's why I am recording these videos. What are we talking about here? As you have heard, if you build a structure of 500 people in 16 months, you can expect a breakthrough, a spurt. A spurt means that your speed will start to grow exponentially. In other words, you make a higher turnover every month. Moreover, it is significantly higher than in the previous month. Why? Because a lot of people come to your structure, many new registrations are made. This moment of breakthrough actually exists, and many of our leaders had this breakthrough, and some of them have it now or are approaching it. However, such a leap occurs only if you sign up 500 people in your structure within about 16 months, who then show some activity, and if you have a system in place. Both a product management system and a business system. I've already told you about all this, and you may watch this fifth and sixth videos again. These leaders who are in the process of making this leap feel very good. They understand, now I have succeeded, I did everything right. They get a sense of euphoria. This is how it should be, and I wish everyone to experience this euphoria. This happens when the structure suddenly starts to grow rapidly, when the turnover is going up. Look at this graph, which I have schematically drawn here for you. The green line is the turnover. On the vertical axis, you see the turnover, and on the horizontal, the time. There is nothing complicated here. I just can't illustrate it more clearly. The period when the green line goes up steeply is called a spurt. Then after some time, it may be years, weeks, or months, depending on the structure and its leader, the turnover begins to grow less quickly. As a rule, people just don't notice it. However, there is one sure thing that most overlook. If the number of registrations in your structure is growing exponentially, that is, every month there are more and more of them, then you are on the right track. If the number of registrations begin to decrease, that is, this month it's less than in the previous month, next month it's less again than in this month, and so on, this doesn't mean a decrease in turnover. It can remain the same or even grow slightly. But these are the first signs that your curve will stop going up and you will reach a plateau. And after a while, your turnover starts to fall. I know leaders who had high turnovers but then fell very much. I know leaders who had high turnovers, then they went down a bit, and then they started to grow again. Why is this happening? Many of those who are now watching this video will say, well, Vivasan is to blame for this. That is, the environment is to blame. Political crises, economic crisis, currency depreciation, that's what they think plays a crucial role. Vivasan is to blame. If you ask why, you'll hear, there are no new products, the new packaging design is bad and I don't like it, or people don't like it, the new flavor of the cream, I don't like it, and thousands of similar statements. And by the way, the marketing plan is also bad, and other firms it's better. You know how those hundreds of thousands of different excuses may sound. What I'm telling you applies to the direct sales system as such, to our business as a whole, and is not limited to Vivasan. Why is there a spurt? It begins, which is quite logical, when a lot of clients come to your structure. Remember the fifth video, the first table from it. 70% of your structure is made up of customers, and maybe even more. This means that you had a good system for distributing product information. Perhaps you can't say the same about bringing people into the business, but in terms of products, everything was fine. Because of this, your structure grew and grew and grew, and a lot of customers came to it. But clients are just clients. This is the reality of any business. Clients come and go. Today they love you, tomorrow they are in love with something else, and the day after tomorrow they are in love with you again. Customers are always looking for the best place, which is quite natural. You're a client yourself. You don't always buy from just one store. You don't choose only one brand of clothing in your wardrobe. Your preferences change. You don't buy the same lipstick all the time. You switch to a different lipstick. You buy different products that you may need in any given moment of time. You go shopping to different stores depending on your mood, so customers come and go. Now, I'll tell you the unpleasant truth. If there are too few so-called influencers in your business, I have just used a new word, then you are in danger of falling to almost zero. Why did I say in the previous video that it is necessary to promote events? The point is that you have to learn to be an influencer. You yourself should be responsible for promoting a variety of seminars, training sessions, and any kind of events. You must conduct and organize them. What for? Because it will allow you to become an influencer. We will touch on this later. And who exactly is an influencer? An influencer is a person in your structure who does everything independently of you. How it works? You build a structure, train people, build business groups, and not only, people grow and you grow with them, your team develops, and at some point your team members realize that they can go on working independently, and they work on their own. They no longer need your support and help, your motivation. They have become independent and no longer depend on you. They are on the same level as you. These are influencers. This is the key to success in our business. After all, the number of clients can grow progressively for at least a whole year. This can be seen from this spurt, but not the number of influencers. If you have a good training system, the increase will be a maximum of 10%. That is, if you have 10 influencers in your structure, then, if you work well, you can expect to have 11 of them next year, but not 100, not 200. This is an important point that many do not understand or do not want to understand. No external factors are to blame for the fact that your turnover is declining. The number of influencers in your structure is the decisive factor, which determines whether your structure either grows over a long time or its turnover falls to a very low level. I know people who earned 10 to 15,000 francs a month. They built large structures, and today they earn 1 or 2,000. Who is to blame for this? The coronavirus? Of course not. Just look at this structure. There are no influencers in it. In such structures, they simply do not exist. If the person at the top stops working, then no one else works in the structure either. If this person doesn't conduct seminars himself, then there are no seminars in the structure. That is the problem. And look at the red lines on the chart. The slower the curve goes up, the more the turnover drops. But if it goes up and you are constantly striving to get new influencers, then your curve will go up very quickly. In any case, everyone will reach a plateau and then have some decline. This depends on how quickly the person realized that he needed the influencers in the structure. And the faster the number of influencers increases, the less the turnover decreases, and then the curve goes up again, along with the increase in the number of influencers in your structure. In fact, this is the most difficult part of our business. I hope I have made myself clear. This is a very important truth that everyone should know. How do I recognize an influencer? What are his distinctive features? The influencer has several important character traits. The main ones are the following 5. He is independent. As I have already explained to you, the first you teach him, he does what he is told, and then he makes his own decisions. He is on the same level with you, he makes decisions independently, doesn't complain or whine. He solves problems, he doesn't shift them to others, to the top lines of the structure or to someone else, but he solves them himself. The influencer doesn't need to be motivated. You don't have to call him every day, beg and beg, please do this, do that. He does it himself, and it helps you. This is immediately noticeable. This is a character trait that a person simply either has or doesn't have. There are people who always want to get away from everything. These are people with the psychology of employees. I told you about this in the first and second videos. They always want to get out of work and only get paid. This is because everybody wants that. But independent people know that to get paid, something has to be done. And if it doesn't take 10 or 20 years to figure out whether a person is an influencer, already at the level of amateur or hobby, a person may have the traits of an influencer. You only need to notice them in him. He's a problem-solving guy, as I told you. He doesn't spend all his time discussing who is responsible for the problem and who is to blame. If there is a problem, an analysis is made, with 5% of it being an analysis and 95% a solution. That's what the influencers do, and this is how they solve problems in their structures. This, of course, leads to a sharp increase in their number in the structure, because if the problem is solved, then it also benefits others. He is stable and persistent. Influencers do not run from one company to another yelling, "We have found a new company again, it has some kind of super product that solves all problems, it has the best marketing plan in the world." And immediately everybody is running that way. And then a year or a couple of months later it turns out that it was a stupid idea. The influencer knows this. Always searching for new opportunities not to work and get a lot of money is a waste of time and energy. It doesn't happen that way. A person needs time to do something, to build something, and he won't risk it. That's the influencer's approach to business, and they are consistent. What do I mean by being consistent? It takes time to get the spirit, at least 15 or 16 months. This will take a lot of work, and it's not that easy. When there is a spirit, the person is happy. Great. But what do some people do after that? They think, "Oh, that's it, it's done. I've built everything and now let the structure work under me." Let them do it all. Let them do their own presentations and training. And the person who has achieved this breakthrough retires. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be surprised that I am talking about influencers, not Vivasan leaders or top leaders. You know, I don't record videos to say bad things about someone. I only tell you what I see. I have excellent top leaders. We have great Vivasan leaders. These are people I'm proud of and very happy to work with. After 20 years, we have become like one family, and I am proud of that. But there are other people, they are not influencers. They earn about 2,000 francs a month, but no one sees them. They are nowhere to be found. They have been retired for a long time and are surprised every month that they have earned less. Every month they are surprised that their earnings have dwindled. And the thing is that they are not influencers. Of course, someone might say, wait a minute, should I actually be an influencer myself? If there's an influencer in my upper line, I don't have to become one. No, that's not how it works. I'll explain that to you later. So the succession implies the following. When the spurt begins, you need to keep your finger on the pulse. You cannot step aside. Your structure needs you. You need to train a large number of people. Now you have a chance. Now you have access to a lot of people. There appeared motivation in your structure. So now you can start your own business. And to do so, you need to bring a lot of people into it in order for new influencers to appear. It is important. After all, many people don't understand that in fact they have a breakthrough only due to the quality of Vivasan products. Yes, they build a system of information dissemination through which they pretty well conveyed information about Vivasan to people, but at some point these customers leave, and then what? Collapse to a very low level. Influencers inspire, they stimulate action by conducting seminars and presentations, events, by helping people and solving problems. A person acquires charisma. It allows you to inspire people into action. Charisma is seen in these people even when they answer questions on social networks via WhatsApp and so on, when they can be reached and asked a question. And this charisma is very important. After all, it means trust. If a person goes on stage and says something or records a video, then people believe him. After all, he has already done it all. He has already gone through it all. And people think, it would be nice for me to listen to him carefully. And this encourages action. Also, the influencer has big plans for the future, and he talks about them. We will see what this really means. Goals, plans. If you want to become an expert, to reach the level of entrepreneur or rise even higher, then you must have your own ideas about the future. You need to know where you will build your structures, how many structures you will build, how many business groups you will create, what turnover you need, how many people you would like to see in your structure, in which countries you will start working, and so on. You must know all this. And you need to form this idea. This picture must be in your head. People who have no idea about the future cannot motivate themselves, and those who do not motivate themselves will never become an influencer. So this is a very important aspect. So I've told you about how to recognize an influencer, and now the next, no less important topic, how to develop influencers. The main rule I have already mentioned. The first influencer is yourself. Do not think that if the structure above you has an influencer, then it solves all your problems. That's not how it works. If there is an influencer in the structure above you, that's fine. He will help you. He will see that you're going to be an influencer too. He will notice that you have these qualities, and of course he will support you and help you. That's for sure. In everything you do, he will help you. After all, he has already realized that if you become an influencer and are really independent, then he will rise even higher in his structure, since he wants to become an expert or entrepreneur. Another way to automate the development of influencers to some extent is a system for building business groups. Let's give an example. Look at this slide. This is just a small example from my experience. Let's say you have a goal to build one business group per month in your first line. Just one. It's actually not a very difficult task. You build just one business group in the first month and then another one each month. That makes 12 business groups a year. Based on our experience, we can assume that approximately 25% of them will stay active. That is, of the 12 business groups that you have built, 3 will carry on. 3 out of the 12 realized what the duplication system is all about and that they could start making money from it. Accordingly, 3 business groups carry on and the rest stop their activities. People didn't like the business or found it too demanding. Then they stay as clients or leave the firm altogether. It happens in different ways, but most of them still remain, becoming clients, perhaps permanent, or they build their business groups not every month, but every 3 or 4 months. This also happens. Let's look at how your structure will develop if you use the system for several years instead of just 1 week. Then in 4 years, you will be able to build 324 business groups within your structure. Not only by your own efforts, these 324 business groups are created by duplication, of which approximately 100 to 115 remain active. They are active every month and continue to develop. And now you can see that in the 5th, 6th or 7th year, the curve goes up sharply. And this is really possible with only 1 business group per month, but with a good system, which I told you about in the 5th, 6th and 7th videos. That's what's behind it. And it's quite logical that because of that, influencers will appear. Why? Well, think about it. For every event that you organize, for every training session, for everything that you are currently doing, you need help from other people to spread information. And so you can immediately see who is really involved and makes efforts, who is motivated, and who is lazy and gets off with excuses. You remember how I told you about this and said that if you're engaged in promoting seminars, you need to give instructions to people who are on the hobby and amateur stages. Explain to them how to invite people to come to seminars, training or presentations. You need to explain to them what questions to ask. You need to make a list in which everyone will write down and indicate who will bring how many people and so on. Those people who are at the level of hobby or amateur, who will bring 10 to 15 people, or will bring only 4 or 5 people, but regularly, they have already taken the first step on the way to becoming an influencer. And those who talk a lot but do not come at all, or you hear excuses from them that this didn't work out and that didn't work out, will not become influencers. And it is very important for you to be able to see this difference, because the next question is who you spend time in business with. You know, there is one picture that I've been watching for years. Namely, the same people constantly sit together in the office, in the warehouse, anywhere, every day. I don't know what else they can talk about with each other. This has been going on for more than 20 years, and everything should have been clear a long time ago. And they have no development in their structures because they are busy bringing up their dysfunctional children again and again. Yes, but why would you, sorry for this rude word, but it's rude, flush your time down the toilet on those people who are not motivated, do not want to succeed at all, and who cannot be managed? After all, they don't do what you want them to do. They always have some excuses. You can say, well, I just don't have any others. In this case, please watch the 3rd video again, how to find new interested people. This, after all, is the problem that brings many to failure. They stop looking for new interested people. They decided for themselves, once I've brought 10 to 20 people into the business, then my task is completed. No, this is not the end of it. Your job is to do this all the time, find more and more interested people, continuously expand your list, do networking. That is what your job really is. And it is, as I said, not only for the benefit of the Vivasan company, but for the whole of your life. Your life will change in many aspects if you're really active in networking. So the next question is, who do you surround yourself with? People who pull you down and constantly demotivate you, influence you negatively, or people who help you, even if they themselves are only on the hobby or amateur stage? This is a big difference. Goals lead to better results. This is very important. You can become an influencer by using goals. If you ask people involved in our business what is the most important thing there, they would say everyone should have goals. But what do they mean by goals? In most cases, this understanding is wrong. People have, of course, a vague idea of what they would like to do, but at the same time, there is no plan, and therefore no action is taken. And as a result, goals remain just goals that are never fulfilled. Then there are people who have a more concrete idea of what they want. They may even have a plan and act, but they don't control their results. Well, you need to think about the following questions. What have I done today? Did it bring me closer to my goal or not? Does this bring me success or not? Why did today's conversation end badly? Why was my invitation to the presentation not accepted? Why did the whole business session go down the drain? Why did this happen? Something went wrong. And one has to work on it, solve this problem to get better results next time. I'll explain it to you. What do I mean by goals? Just imagine, a person is on the hobby level and wants to get to the amateur stage. He wants to build 12 business groups in order to rise to the amateur level within a year. That is one business group every month. This is a great goal. The next question is, what do I need to do? What does the plan look like? What should I do and when should I do it? Accordingly, you need goals for 6 months, a month and a week. You can't start today in January and check whether you have 12 business groups on December 31st. Then you probably won't have any. Instead, you need to check every week whether you're on the way to the goal. A business group is pretty simple, but imagine that you want to go even higher. In this case, the goal setting and monitoring, this is called feedback analysis, is very important. Think about it. You will not reach the expert level or other high levels of professionalism alone. To do this, you need a team that will work with you. This is exactly what you really need. And so you need to think, what do we really want to achieve by the end of the year? Let's take a very trivial example. Let's say you are at the very beginning of the pro level or moving from amateur to pro. You already have a small team, and let's say it's January and by December you want to have a structure that will bring you 50,000 francs net. Because then you will have a monthly income of about 3,000 francs. This is your goal. And you know that to do this, you must have 120 business groups in your structure. How you will do it? You can't build 120 business groups in a year single-handed, so you need to divide this goal for the year into goals for 6 months, a month and a week. What brings you turnover? Training, business classes, finding new consultants, acquisition of new clients, conducting presentations, formation of business groups, helping others build business groups, supporting your leaders and your team. That's what makes a turnover and nothing else. Product training sessions also make a turnover, and something has to be done every week. The plans should specify concrete numbers, not some abstract desires. How many presentations will we give, how many business classes, how many personal meetings, and so on. This should be agreed with your team. And every team member should have his own goals. Based on these goals, targets are set for amateurs and for people who are on the hobby level. This, ladies and gentlemen, is business. This is the only way to get to the top. If a person on the hobby or amateur stage is just trying to do something, then if you want to move from amateur to pro, you need to possess certain skills. Otherwise, it will not work. And if you want to rise above the pro level, you will need to establish a system and make sure that your structure really works according to the system. But in order for this to work, for you to rise higher, for you to have influencers, and this is important, this is the topic of today's video, you must have goals. You need to help people become influencers, as I explained to you, and this also requires tracking the completion of goals. Set goals for yourself and real goals that are related to business. Divide them into weekly and monthly goals, and then look, if you want to achieve such and such a goal in a month, what do you need to do every week? and this needs to be controlled. And if you don't do it, then don't be surprised that these goals aren't being met and nothing is moving. Because if a person didn't achieve anything, it means that there was some problem that made it impossible to reach the goal. Accordingly, you must identify and solve this problem. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the high art of leadership. Beginners do not need to think about this yet. But if you want to become an expert or entrepreneur and grow further, then this tool should be used in your structure. And of course, you should create a reward system. If a person at the hobby level has completed a particular task, and you set the task and he performs it, then he gets a little encouragement. An amateur or a pro also gets a little encouragement. It can be, for example, an invitation to lunch or dinner or something else. Set goals and award small rewards for achieving them. This motivates people and encourages them to move on. The majority believes that incentives should be given by the administration of the Vivasan company, but this is absolutely not true. This is the task of those leaders who want to rise to the top. So I recorded 7 videos for you. In these 7 videos, I've told you what's most important in our business. Read, accumulate information, and watch these videos more often. Maybe now you will understand what your problems are. It's never too late to start over. It's never too late to fix something. Even for those who have been with us for many years, maybe I will inspire you and motivate you to act in a different way, to start doing something new. And this is not a theory. It is practical developments based on more than 20 years of experience of Vivasan. I must say that video is a new format for me. Before I didn't have the opportunity to record such videos because I didn't have time at all. I'm always at seminars, I always work with people and go to many countries. But now, in 2020, I was able to make these videos because I was just as quarantined as the rest of you. So I decided to record these videos. They can be useful for someone, they can inspire someone. I will make many more videos. As you have seen, I posted these videos on the internet every week. I will not conceal the fact that I received a lot of feedback on them, not only positive but also negative. And that's great. I'm happy to get any negative feedback. Some of it is justified, other is completely unjustified, and it doesn't matter. The important thing is that I get a reaction from people. 80 to 90% of the audience is grateful, and they ask me a lot of questions. So I planned the following. Watch these videos and ask me questions via Facebook or email. Most of you know my work email address. And then I will record a separate video in which I will give you detailed answers to these questions. I wish you great success and stay safe. Thank you very much.